I've just said we've now got stability.
Okay, I would disagree heavily with that.
That was the deal that I got in the spending review, because the last government did not strike that deal. I got that deal.
David Reed breaks silence after Tommy Robinson's bold remarks on David Lammy. You're not going to believe what just happened. In a political scene already buzzing with tension, one comment, one reaction just set off a storm. David Reed, the MP known for his sharp yet measured takes, has now stepped into one of the most heated political moments of the week. And yes, it involves Tommy Robinson and his explosive remarks about none other than David Lammy. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, oh, not another headline clash, hear this, because this one's different. What Reed just said, or rather, what he didn't deny, is what's making people sit up and pay attention. So here's what unfolded. Earlier this week, Tommy Robinson appeared on a podcast, a smaller one, not mainstream, where he discussed the state of politics, free speech, and what he called the hypocrisy of leadership. During the discussion, Robinson brought up David Lammy, calling him part of a system that silences ordinary voices. It wasn't a direct attack. It was framed more as a critique of how political discourse has changed, but the message landed hard. The clip circulated fast. Within hours, it was all over X, formerly Twitter, trending under the hashtag #LammyDebate. And then, something unexpected happened. David Reed, normally cautious, the kind of MP who doesn't comment on public spats, liked one of the posts quoting Robinson's words. And then, during a live radio segment later that evening, Reed was asked directly about it. His response: calm, careful, but telling. Look, he said, people are frustrated, and I think Tommy, for all his controversial ways, was expressing a sentiment that a lot of working-class voters feel. They're not being listened to. That's all it took. One line, and suddenly, the political world went wild. Within minutes, screenshots of his statement started circulating. Supporters cheered him on for finally saying what politicians are too afraid to admit. But critics, they were furious. One Labour strategist reportedly told The Independent, "It's deeply disappointing to see a sitting MP validate someone like Robinson, even indirectly. That's not how we build bridges." Meanwhile, Reed's own supporters defended him, saying he wasn't endorsing Robinson, he was acknowledging the frustration of millions who feel shut out of politics. And that's where the real debate begins. Because Reed didn't say he agreed with Robinson's methods. He said he understood the emotion behind them. And that nuance in today's world of online outrage is almost impossible to discuss without someone twisting it. Let's pause for a second. This isn't the first time David Lammy has found himself in the middle of a national debate about class, race, and speech. He's outspoken, intelligent, and not afraid to challenge controversial figures. But because he's such a prominent voice and often positioned against right-wing commentary, his name gets pulled into cultural flashpoints like this one again and again. And now, David Reed has walked straight into that minefield. Some say it's bravery that he's voicing what others think but won't say. Others argue it's dangerous that by even appearing to side with Robinson's rhetoric, Reed risks alienating moderate voters and deepening divisions. Either way, people are talking. And that's the power of moments like this. Social media reactions were explosive. One user posted, "Finally, an MP who doesn't hide behind political correctness. Reed gets it." Another fired back, "This is exactly how extreme ideas become normalized when politicians pretend they're just feelings." Political podcasts jumped in. YouTubers broke down every second of the interview. Journalists started reaching out to Reed's office for clarification, but his team hasn't issued an official statement beyond that one radio comment. Which, of course, only fuels speculation even more. Now, here's the interesting part: the timing. This all comes as Parliament debates new measures on online speech and extremism. Critics argue that free speech is being squeezed, while supporters say the changes are needed to protect citizens from hate and misinformation. So when Robinson made his comments and Reed echoed the public frustration line, it hit exactly where the tension already was. This wasn't just about Lammy or Robinson. It was about the bigger question: who gets to speak freely in Britain today? And that's what makes this story powerful, because it's not really about three men. It's about a nation divided between expression and restraint, between frustration and responsibility. Even within Westminster, insiders are reportedly split. One Conservative MP told a journalist off the record, Reid said what many of us think privately. The public feels censored. You can't dismiss that feeling, it's real. But a Labour aide countered with a warning. When politicians start nodding to populist anger, they play with fire. You can't control how those words spread online. Both have a point. Because right now, public trust is fragile. People are exhausted by politics, by the endless promises, scandals, and disconnect. So when someone dares to acknowledge that frustration, even vaguely, it resonates. It feels real. But at the same time, words carry weight, especially when spoken by people in power. So what happens next? Insiders say Reid may face questions from his party leadership, especially if the backlash continues. But others think this could be a turning point for him, positioning him as a straight-talker in an age of political doublespeak. Either way, the conversation isn't dying down. And that's exactly what makes this moment so fascinating. Because behind the outrage and headlines lies a truth about Britain's mood: raw, restless, and searching for authenticity. Reid didn't create that feeling. He just touched it. And now, everyone's watching to see what comes next. As one commentator put it, it's not about agreeing with Tommy Robinson or David Lammy. It's about whether politicians are brave enough to acknowledge the tension Britain's living through. And maybe that's the point here. Because whether you see David Reid as courageous or careless, his words opened a door most politicians keep locked. And the question remains now that it's open: who's walking through it next?